Roman Reigns is WWE's pet project, the future face of the company and the man that will one day be revered as the best the industry has to offer. Well, that's what Vince McMahon would like anyway, and if Vince got his way all the time, you'd be fired for sneezing in front of him. Seriously. However, despite fans warming to Reigns in recent weeks, it's been a rocky road for the Roman Empire. He's still a bit green in the ring, a bit wooden on the mic, and, on top of all that, the prodigal son has a knack for being less than charming in interviews. And when we say less than charming, we mean he's got less grace than this dog. I'm Simon Miller from WhatCulture, and this is 10 things WWE wants you to forget about Roman Reigns. Number 10. He spoke badly of John Cena. "Thou shalt not speak ill of John Cena" is probably the first line in all performers' contracts nowadays, given how protected he is. He's not getting any younger though, so WWE is moulding Roman in his image instead. A situation I imagine Reigns doesn't enjoy, given how he's continually slated about it. Hell, that's probably why he thought nothing of taking a pop at the man. After all, you can't see John Cena, so why not hope he may not be able to hear you either? Clearly he can't, because when Roman told the Reno Gazette-Journal in 2014 that "I'm way better looking and I'm way more athletic than John Cena, so for anybody to compare me to him is completely asinine," nothing came of it. Forget that Reigns wasn't a heel nor in a feud with Cena when he said such things. No one cared, because Roman is the new John Cena. So believe that, Reigns, and more importantly, accept it. Number 9. Rosie. Do you remember Rosie? No? Understandable, given the man was treated with as much respect as a bag of potatoes. Debuting in 2002 as part of the 3-Minute Warning tag team, he and teammate Jamal, later Umaga, would beat up the likes of Lillian Garcia or the fabulous Moolah, the latter of which is the equivalent of taking candy from a baby. Except the baby is an old woman. And the candy is Jamal's fist. Following that, he had the huge honour of being the Hurricane's sidekick, where he was known as Superhero in Training, a pun that allowed the WWE to compare him to excrement. Then he was fired. Rosie's real name, however, is Matt Anoa'i, which makes him Roman Reigns' brother. You can see why WWE wouldn't want you to make any connection, considering he was once referred to as toilet waste, even more so when there's another so-called relative they can use instead, The Rock. With that said though, number 8. The Rock is not actually his cousin. Hulk Hogan did not once work 400 days in a year. Jack Tunney was never WWF president, and The Rock and Roman Reigns are not proper relatives. That's not to say there's no bond there at all. Far from it. Their grandfathers were blood brothers, an act that brought two of Samoa's most powerful wrestling families together and made them all very close. It clearly doesn't matter anyway. Even if The Rock was Roman's twin, it wouldn't have helped, unless WWE went as far as to pretend he was actually Dwayne Johnson. That would definitely have helped. Number 7. CM Punk wasn't his biggest fan. When CM Punk left WWE, he opened up more than a reality show contestant's sob story. He talked about life behind the scenes. He talked about his fellow wrestlers. And he talked about The Shield. Namely, that it was his idea to start it, but without Roman Reigns. Coming up with the new stable after being told he would team up with Seth Rollins and the man who makes people sad, The Big Show, Punk dodged a 500-pound bullet by suggesting everyone in the group be a developmental talent instead, opting for Rollins, Dean Ambrose, and the then Cassius Ohno, better known on the indie scene as Chris Hero. Triple H rejected the latter and threw Roman into the mix instead. He was their guy, Punk was told, so he's getting the third slot. Punk agreed, but obviously wasn't that happy about it, which isn't exactly ideal. Number 6. The Royal Rumble fiasco. Picture the scene. For weeks, customers have been telling you they don't like apples. They do, however, like oranges. As a business owner, what would you do? If your answer is buy the apples anyway and force it down these morons' throats, then bravo, you've just got a job in Stamford, Connecticut. The 2015 Royal Rumble was such an ill-received mess, WWE would love to erase your memory of it with one of those Men in Black flashy thingies if they could. The hardcore Philadelphia crowd booed Roman out the building. It got worse at the following month's Fastlane pay-per-view too. The event was so poorly received, it gave birth to Twitter's very own hashtag cancel WWE Network. Oddly, Michael Cole never told us that one was trending worldwide. Not even an appearance by fake cousin The Rock could save him, which is the equivalent of throwing the kitchen sink at the situation only for the taps to take a disliking to Reigns as well. Fans were sick of the Samoan taking center stage and vocalized it with venom. It was not pretty. Number 5. SUFFERIN SUCCOTASH. Unless you're below the age of 10, the Looney Tunes aren't high on your list of priorities. Or if they are, you're keeping it quieter than that time Vince had an incest storyline stopped by his own daughter. And yet someone in WWE, that would be Vince again, thought it would be a great idea for Roman Reigns to borrow the catchphrase of Sylvester the Cat. Confronting Seth Rollins on the January 9th, 2015 episode of SmackDown, Roman threw a bunch of garbled words at his former friend before finishing it with "SUFFERIN SUCCOTASH." It was so embarrassing it made the entire wrestling world miss the days of Mae Young giving birth to a hand. At least that had a punchline. The only joke here was Roman Reigns. Reigns. Number 4. Insulting Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose. Now, I don't think Roman Reigns meant to insult his fellow Shield members, but the man can't give a good interview to save his life. Speaking on the Josh podcast, Reigns had an odd choice of words for his apparent friends when he said, "I've always had the critics, and I think a lot of it goes with the background of me not having that independent experience, especially being paired up with guys like Seth and Dean, because those guys are journeymen." Wait. Journeyman, the definition of which is a worker or sports player who is reliable but not outstanding. Well, cheers, Roman. What a ringing endorsement that is. You would assume what Reigns actually meant was both have travelled far and wide to get to the WWE, whereas Roman was handpicked. If you don't know what something means, don't say it. You wouldn't call someone a and then feign ignorance now, would you? Number 3. No one told his dad about Mania. Seth Rollins winning the WWE title at WrestleMania was not planned months in advance. The decision was made relatively close to the show itself, if not on the actual day, and there were only a few people who knew Roman Reigns was not walking away with gold. His father wasn't one of them. Sika Anoa'i, Reigns' dad, was reportedly so infuriated by the finish to the match that he had to be calmed down by relatives. Expecting your son to have the moment of his career and then it falling apart in front of your eyes can't be too fun. And damn it, it's still real to him. You think someone at WWE could have given him a heads up. Number 2, he thinks the fans hate their lives. Seriously, who in WWE's PR department lets Roman speak to the press? He's either the internet's biggest troll or he has no concept of public relations. During an interview with CRAVE Online, Reigns was quick to make his feelings known about the WWE universe and his critics. To him, that's what haters do. They hate because they hate their lives. It got worse too, when once again Roman had verbal diarrhea during a 2015 Sam Roberts interview and said, "The majority of critics, I would say, are people who have no clue what they're talking about and have never been in a wrestling ring. For them to critique or ever say anything about any performer is asinine." Ignoring the fact the only big word he seems to know is asinine, Reigns has had a hard time not coming off as the company's biggest bad guy in these situations. I'd suggest just letting him be himself and run with it. But what do I know? Nothing. Just ask Roman Reigns. Number 1. WWE was not Reigns' first choice. All WWE wrestlers have dreamed of being superstars since they were children and are privileged to be there. That's what the company would have you believe anyway. It's true for many on the roster too, working their damnedest to get where they are now. But that wasn't the case for Roman Reigns. Long before he ever thought about putting on a pair of black trunks, Joe Anoa'i was focused on becoming an American football player. With college records to his name and an obvious talent for the sport, the defensive tackle went undrafted in the 2007 NFL draft, which sparked a chain of unfortunate events. He got signed by the Minnesota Vikings, but was then released later that month. Next was the Jacksonville Jaguars, who then dropped him before the start of the season. After a short period with the CFL's Edmonton Eskimos, he was ousted once again. Only then did he stumble across a career in professional wrestling. Not so much like John Cena after all then, are you, Reigns? So there you have it. Roman Reigns' darkest secrets revealed. Don't forget to let us know your thoughts in the comments, to like, share and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter at SimonMiller316. I'm Simon from WhatCulture, and I'll be talking to you soon.
And hey, while we have you, why not celebrate the relentless passage of time by buying WhatCulture's first ebook, The 100 Worst Wrestling Moments of 2015, written by Andrew Sosick, with a foreword from me. Only £3, it's currently the ranked #1 selling wrestling book on Amazon. Check the description for a link.